Welcome. Today for my first video of 2025, we're going to look back at 2024, starting with the books I read. And that's really it, actually. The books are nonfiction and fiction. So we'll start with Dark PR by Grant Ennis. Disclaimer, Grant sent me this. I had a post about why I could not be able to get it from my library, and he sent it to me. That's it. No request, no nothing. He just sent it to me. So this book it provides you with a lot of frameworks to look at when you look at the marketing of the companies that we interact with, from the sugar companies to health companies, and how they use the framing of their marketing and the language they use with us to discount a lot of the detriments that their companies have. So from funding contradicting studies that show a link between sugar and diabetes, and they fund not that, to dismissing it by saying that slavery provided useful skills for people. And so you kind of dismiss it or say it was really a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing. It's a good thing for you to have this thing, slavery, because you got useful skills out of it that you could use as a person later. It doesn't matter if you're a slave and beaten, you got useful skills. So my only detriment to this book is that I didn't use it enough in my further reading and further thinking for the rest of the year. So I would like to do that in 2025, really dig into this more. But I highly recommend the book. I highly recommend all the different frameworks Ennis provides you to think about how the marketing is used around you to honestly let you buy into a bunch of stuff that is just not good for us, for the world, for anything. It's good for the companies. Second book is Democracy at Work, which I just finished and returned to the library. This takes a look at radical democracy. So where we have partial democracy right now, in some ways, at least according to this book, we have democracy in our politics, in theory in some spots, because we continue to push people out of being able to vote. This looks at radical democracy and taking the hands or the access to production out of the hands of owners and putting it in the workers that actually have it. So this has often been called socialism or fascism, but he makes a distinction between owner-owned capital or capitalist-owned production, which is what we have in North America right now and much of the world, and state-owned production, which is what we have really when you look at some of the fascist or socialist states previously. That's not really centralized production as opposed to worker-led production. They never took that final step to make it full democracy in production, which would have only the workers that produce or assist in producing, right? So you need cleaners, other stuff like that. They count because they are helping the production because they're facilitating it happening. But they all get a vote in what the surplus of production goes to and how their businesses are run. Maybe they decide to pay a little more to someone for a time, but then you get voted in and out of your offices. So I really like that as a way to really look at moving away from ownership, or he refers to owners as capitalists, and moving into a way that would provide more equity for a lot of the workers out there. Third is Against Creativity by Ollie Mold. We will do, let's get this big silver streak on it, just why it's hard to even show on camera. And I'll do a full review on this. I've already got it written, but I'll do a full review on this a little later, probably next week. So in this book, Ollie Mold looks at how creativity has been pushed by capitalism as a way to honestly have us do with less, right? We defund our social institutions and we say they need to be more creative, right? Libraries need to be more creative as they continue to have bigger and bigger mandates, often around, providing any type of shelter for homeless people, or providing education for homeless people, and getting them into the filling out applications so they can actually get the support that they need. And we use that as a way to say, just be creative, right? We are told at work often to be creative so we have to basically do our same job plus more work because people are laid off, and we have to be creative with the finances. They're not paying us more in many ways, and many times at the same time as owners, capitalists, to use terms from Democracy at Work, are continuing to earn more profit, and they are continuing to take more money home. We are supposed to be creative with the production so that we can honestly just do more with less all the time and be happy about it because it's creative. Mold even dives into cities, specifically a lot of art installations around cities that are creative and edgy, but only just edgy enough that the cool people that have money will show up. They don't actually want it edgy enough to challenge society or challenge the city or anything like that. They want it just edgy enough, and if it can't be monetized, it can't be captured in a capitalist society, then it's not good creativity. It's clearly graffiti. It's something else that's bad that we need to get away from. And the final good fiction or nonfiction book I read this year, say good is a loaded word in this case, is The Cost of Being a Girl. So this book looks at the financial implications of being born a female from your job, where in the very first years of a job you may have babysitting, you actually might make more than your male counterparts, to honestly very shortly after that, after the first year, not making nearly as much, because where, babysitting doesn't have a wage increase every year. A male that starts in the service industry often does have a wage increase per year. There's no like manager of babysitting. You don't get to graduate in that respect. So the author also debunks gender wage gap stereotypes. We're saying, oh, women aren't as trained as men, when women are by far more trained than men now. And ultimately, it seems like it comes down to more the misogynistic world in which we live, run by men to keep men on top. That really contributes to this. So a good book to read, a review I've done, which I'll link in the description or in the post that goes with this, and I'll try to link it up above in the video, is A Brief History of Misogyny by Jack Holland. That is the one I get, honestly, the most hate mail from men about, and the most, hey, thanks, from women comments and stuff about. So I think that's a really good book. Another big thing that the author looks at, was it Yasmin Bessen Casino? I hope I'm saying that right, is that a lot of women are, the service jobs they end up doing are, say, clothing, retail style jobs where they are expected every season to purchase an entire wardrobe again to match what they are supposed to sell. Out of their own funds, right? They get a small discount, but ultimately they're spending most of the money they earn on the tools to do the job. Unlike, lots of other jobs where you are provided with your tools, you're provided with your uniform. Now I have two disappointing reads as well. Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. It just honestly rehashed a whole bunch of stuff. I really loved Deep Work when it came out. I read it twice, thought it was really good. Even So Good They Can't Ignore You. Really loved that. I have both of them on my shelf. I actually have most of his books on my shelf. But this was just like a rehash. Wasn't anything new. I would say don't bother reading it. And I have similar feelings about Clear Thinking by Shane Parrish. Loved his site. I don't really read it much anymore. Farnham Street, and just the ways to think, ways to do better. But ultimately, it just wasn't a good book. I reviewed this a few weeks back, so I'll link to that up above if you want to know more about it. I guess my big takeaway from the books I really didn't like in the nonfiction realm is that I need to stop reading about productivity, because I already have everything I need on productivity. I don't really need to branch out into that. I know what works for me. I know what doesn't work. And spending honestly hours reading these books on productivity is probably not a good use of my time. Now we're on to fiction. Oh, so you're going to see 4 books? Yeah, 4 books. I read mostly Brandon Sanderson. At least that stuck out to me. There's some other fiction, but mostly Brandon Sanderson. First was Defiant. This is, I'll say supposed to be the final book in the, what does they call this? The Skyward series. I've got them actually just over here on my shelf right here. These ones on the bottom. There's a couple other books, look, I think in book 3, our main character goes somewhere else and it looks back at her flight, or the people that are, associated with her. It's a good book again. Yeah, I liked it. I don't know what else to say. It's good. It's a little more YA oriented. It's a space science fiction novel as opposed to a lot of fantasy that Sanderson does. But it's really good. I liked it. Quick read, good read. I will read the whole series again. Next from him is Sunlit Man, science fiction again. Again, he writes more fantasy, but this was the Sunlit Man. This takes Nomad, who quite quickly I figured out was a character I had already met in another one of his series, specifically in the Stormlight Archive, but I didn't know who it was. Even when I finished, like near the end, it tells you who it is, and I was like, I gotta read this again, because I don't instantly go, oh, it's this character, and grab everything out of it. I need to go back and read it again. So that'll be on my shelf again. They're all down there. Is it down there? Yeah, they're on the bottom as well. On this side over here, the Stormlight Archive, another massive set of books. So in this one, Nomad is deposited on a world that is rotating and has really fast and has a massive sun that will roast you, and you have to keep running. So while Nomad is running from this world, so he doesn't get burned up, also trying to help the rebels, and he's also trying to stay away from the big bad evil that got him there in the first place as he runs. It was a good story. I like the redemption at the end. And like I said, I still need to go read more about the character that is Nomad that I didn't realize. Next, going back in Sanderson's catalog, Elantris. I listened to this first, really liked it, so I got it and I read it again. Elantris is a city that was magic, or I guess really the city was magic, and the surrounding city kind of served it. And then something happened, and all the magic went away, and all these magical beings got a disease. And now, instead of the magic you might get at a certain age, you get this disease that essentially you're immortal, but you never heal. And that's what drives people mad in this, because you never heal. So you always feel that broken bone. You always feel that bruise. You always feel that cut. It never heals. But you're immortal. And so eventually you go mad. So we meet our protagonist here. And he gets this disease just before he's supposed to get married. He's the prince, and he goes into Elantris and works to make their lives better, really. With the small time he has before he knows he'll go mad, he works really hard to make it better for everyone. And, he sees glimmers of how the magic would work, and yeah, that's it. He has a very painful story in many ways. And then his future wife, who is literally already in the town, in the city from another kingdom, is there working to figure out, again, how to help serve the people. That is her, I guess, death price isn't the right word, but you're supposed to, in this culture, show some remorse when your husband dies, yada, yada, yada. So she does this and tries to also help the same city of Elantris. It's a really good book. I will read it again. I wish there was more in this world. And the final Sanderson is, what's it called? The Emperor's Soul. So in this world, I guess, again, still part of the Cosmere, and there's different expressions of the magic in Cosmere. In this one, the protagonist, was it Shai? I think Shai, Shai, is a forger, which literally means they can stamp and write, we'll call it calligraphy, but they make stamps, and they can make things take on different properties. So say a beaten up table, they can, write the story for it with a stamp that says this table is actually taken care of like wonderfully its entire life. And so it turns this table that was just terrible into something wonderful. Some people are, passable barely at it, and so it just shows up for a little bit, but this person is like phenomenal. So much so that you find out the painting she was caught stealing was actually the forgery, and they can't tell the difference, and she actually just burned the original, because for her, the art is showing how good she can do as a forger. So in this world, the king has had a mental issue. It doesn't ever describe what. Basically hit his head, no longer really there. And there are big reasons to have the king's soul and life repurposed. And it is possible, although extremely hard and often fails, to basically write the soul into the stamps that this king would wear. So honestly, she does it. And she does it. Watching her do it and watching her go from someone hating the kingdom to really understanding. She has to truly understand the person to be able to write these words into their soul and give them a new one, and then also get past all the politicking and turn this person into a truly good person that they definitely were, and that they could have been a little better. So that's a really good one. Okay, my next, I guess, most read author was Christopher Ruocchio, I guess, and I read a big one, right? This is the second book, Howling Dark. Oh. This is the first book in his Sun Eater, 5-book series. I love the art on this one. The art on this, I kept coming back. I like the art on the second one more, but I kept looking at this one and being like, man, the art is beautiful on that. I love the armor. So in this world, we have humans, which have lost Earth and kind of worship Earth. Fighting the, I guess you'd say, Celian. It's a race of monsters, we'll say. Intelligent monsters, but are still very separate. They understand the world very different from humans. So also you see there's a sword here. So there's shields you have that bullets won't really go through. That way it's kind of like Dune. Anything fast enough will get stopped by this. And he's looking to achieve peace with the Celians. His dad has sent him off to a place he doesn't want to go. And so as he goes away, right, is some what's the book? There's a book by Orson Scott Card as well. I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to put it down here if I remember a series where you travel for so long, or you go to sleep in that world for so long that you literally bypass all the people around you. If you're rich enough, you can go to sleep. So in this one, you actually for interstellar travel, you have to go to sleep because there's no like, warp drive that just makes it instant or anything like that. It literally just takes as long as it takes now. But you can get cryogenically frozen. So this kid runs away, his ship gets captured. In this one, he ends up on the streets because he has no proof that he's who he is, and he has to kind of fight through it all and stay away from his dad, because his dad would have him captured and brought back into the life that he doesn't want. In the second book, they're dealing with the AI, with a person who's a robot, who has managed to transfer their consciousness and is like a man of mystery, a man of myth, I suppose. It'd be like meeting the boogeyman for real, and saying, wow, this person is actually still around. This is amazing. Again, much slower read than a lot of Sanderson stuff than some of the other science fiction, but excellent, like really, really good. I continue to find myself coming back to it, and I really like it. I actually started the first one from the library and then bought it. Basically, I bought it and finished the last 100 pages in my copy, and then bought the whole rest of the series. Next up, Quill Still by Aaron Sofair, I suppose. So what you'd say it. This is what's called an isekai story. So our main protagonist, Sophie, is taken out of their world into a new world. And they are... Isekai story are often like come back as the most powerful person. Not necessarily that, but definitely a person with power. And the biggest revelation in here is this, I guess, how the world should work in many ways. So they get to the city and they're like, well, okay, well, what do I do in the city? And everyone just takes them under their wing nicely and says, well, let's find something you like to do. And like, well, what if I don't find something? Like, well, you just get a small apartment then, and food is free in this area. You can just go here anytime you want. You can eat there, and that's not a problem. And you just need to contribute to society. So they were a chemist, and they want to become an alchemist, and the city says, oh, that's fine. We'll supply all the stuff for it. Well, here's the loan. You got to start paying it back after the first year. What happens if I don't? Well, then we just bring in someone to help you for the next second year. And what if it still doesn't work after the second year? Well, we just, you move back to the standard house as opposed to this big one with all the stuff that we give you. And you find something else you like to do in the city, and that's it. And that's probably the best thing, watching the protagonist really grapple with what it meant to be taken care of, and just being astonished that the city would just take care of you. And the city by its own right, well, if you can't take care of your citizens, are you really a city? Like, they really grapple with this, are astonished at the place that this person came from, because they recognize that there's other worlds, that other dimensions, stuff like that. But they grapple with this, that there are places where you don't get taken care of, where you can just get tossed on the street, and they value human life so much more. They say, no, nobody should be on the street. We help everyone. People with addiction get help. People like everything. So that's a really, really good. I hope we get a second book of this, because it definitely leaves it so there could be a second book. And the final is Heaven's River by Dennis E. Taylor. This continues in the Bobiverse saga. So this is where Robert Johansson, Bob, is put into a ship, his consciousness basically, and he is a computer consciousness. He controls the ship, and he can, he multiplies himself. So we'll say the Bobs as a race, but they all have their own personalities. Actually explore that, like at the time when you're brought back online, when you basically clone yourself, like how does the personality work, and actually explore that. I'm not sure if it's in this book or if it's another one, but like how does that actually work? And they prove in that world that you are a different person, that each Bob is their own person. So in this one, we're finding a Bob that left in the first book many, many years ago, and they start trying to track them down, and they find basically a massive space donut powered by an AI, and they work to infiltrate it, find the lost, I don't remember that Bob's name. I don't remember. Yeah, just don't remember what that one was. And they find them, and they honestly get to work with AI, and they get to know this Quinlans, this race of intelligent, let's say beavers, essentially, of intelligent platypus beaver things. And they help them, I guess, reintegrate with the world because they have the technology, but they're fairly territorial, and they fight a lot. So the AI is basically keeping them safe by keeping their technology down. Again, I've actually listened to this series. I have an Audible probably 3 or 4 times, probably twice this year. Really good series if you're into science fiction. Highly recommended. That's it for my, I guess, favorite books of 2024. If you had any books that you think I'd like based on this, please leave them in the comments. If you think I missed one, if you think, hey, I think Slow Productivity was great. Honestly, that's great for you. I'm happy you liked it. I'm great. No shade on it. I just didn't think of the extra stuff for me. But I'm up for any comments. If you want to support the channel, keep the stuff coming. The best ways to do that is become a member, curtismchale.ca/membership. You can also join the book club, which is curtismchale.ca/I-want-books, I-want-books. We're doing some nonfiction books. First one is Right Thing Right Now by Ryan Holiday, and then we're going to do this one right here, Thinking in Systems by Donella H. Meadows. It's the best way to support the channel. Have an awesome day.